There's one other quick question about that little song is from The Night of the Hunter. I recognize that. Yeah, no, real interesting that was pulled out of there, because the music is just really unique. It's remarkable. I love the pacing of this too. It's just really extraordinary.
Thank you.
And it's such a great. I mean, you are just so good, Ms. Shannon, with giving a new spin to that character. I mean, there are a lot of, I love those films, but I liked the freshness to it.
Yeah.
It was very fresh, I thought.
Well, thank you. I mean, the fact of the matter is, like, anybody, it's such an icon in the zeitgeist or whatever that it's not even really takes much research. I mean, we have all pretended, imagine, walking down the street and what if I was a detective or a secret agent or something? It's like,
Sure.
Well, I hope you do.
Yeah,
anyway.
Of course.
It's funny when you talk about doing nothing, because it's such a, I mean, it's sort of a weird thing. Like, I mean, Mike and I actually met because I was on set a little bit when they were shooting in New York, but usually the actor and the editor, you never meet, but you have this really close collaboration. Because I watched, every frame of Mike's performance, and it was such a lived-in performance that I would forget that you were acting. And there's not a lot of actors who give that to you. A lot of times you're just pulling, editing, shooting a movie is a very fragmented thing, and you just get, a bunch of takes from a bunch of different angles, and then in the edit room you just try and make it feel like a scene. But Mike, I think really, it like dinged a light bulb for me when you said doing nothing, because it was so, just so lived in this performance. And we could go to any take and any angle and not worry about what the performance was going to be. And it just was about combing through and just finding the best and just finding the most, calibrating every scene to where those emotions should be. But it was such a nice grounded.
Well, thanks, Molly. I mean, it was also benefited by this very fast schedule. I mean, it really did just take over it takes over your life. I mean, that's what you do every day. It all happens in like a month. We shot 2 weeks in New York, 2 weeks in LA, and then it's over. So just being there every day, the first couple of days you're like, oh, I really want to do a good job. And then by the middle of the second week, you're like, am I going to survive? Am I going to have an aneurysm? What's going on? It's 3 in the morning. I'm hungry. Do I have another cup of coffee? And then by the 4th week, you're just like an android, basically.
Yes.
During the scene in Revolutionary Road, the part where, what was it like in that where let me try to say more. During the scene in Revolutionary Road where Leonardo DiCaprio and you were talking, and there was a part where he was flipping out at you, what you were saying, what was it like during that role?
What was it like doing it? Well, gee, it was intense. I mean, it was very, very intense. I mean, I only shot for like 5 days, so it was pretty fast. And Sam did a lot of takes, and he would give a lot of notes, and you kind of felt like no matter what you did, at the end of the take, he was going to be like, that was okay. Now let's think about this. So everybody started going a little nuts, and then that's kind of the genius of the way he directed the movie. He knew, because everybody would come in the first few takes and bring. It's kind of like when you hear the Kubrick stories about him directing Nicholson in The Shining, like how he made him do. He would make him do something like 100 times. Like the first 10 times, Nicholson would be like, "Here's my A game, man," and then Kubrick would be like, "Yeah, all right." And then he'd make him do it 20 more times, and then Jack Nicholson would get bored. And then like the 50th time, he'd be like, "Are you serious? You really want?" And then finally, by the 100th time, he was just absolutely out of his freaking mind. And Kubrick was like, "That's the one. Okay, we can move on." So it was a little bit like that, yeah.
Are you someone who has there ever been a time where on film anyway where you like to vary what you were doing from take to take, or are you pretty? Do you find that you know what you're doing from take one and don't vary too much?
No, I never feel like I know what I'm doing. It's usually just it's really just a matter of concentration, and I mean, hopefully it will be different from thing to thing if you're paying attention. It's really just about paying attention to like what's going on around you.
Right.
It's very tempting when they stick a camera in your face to try and not pay attention, because there's so much you're trying to not pay attention to, like the camera and all these people standing around staring at you and all that. But so you like retreat into yourself, and you get caught up on your own performance or whatever. But ultimately, the best thing to do is just try and not clam up and just be receptive to whatever's happening, you know.
Mollie, have you ever had an experience where you were trying to cut something together, but an actor was doing something wildly different on different takes? That
I actually just finished a movie that was shot very improvisationally, and I think the actor interpreted improv to mean I'm going to do whatever wacky thing I want to do, which I think happens sometimes and is incredibly frustrating in an edit. And even just actors who, you know, a lot of times you'll watch a performance and you'll think, okay, well, there's a good piece here and a good piece here, like I can fix this. And then there's other times you're like, what am I going to do with this? But I think the thing I find that's most frustrating is that that people miss, that I actually always notice that Mike does very well, so I can talk about this safely, is like staying in the moment. And I think it's the hardest thing for actors to do. And then there's so much stuff that happens. Like if something falls in a take, and if the actor goes with it, you can use the take. But if they don't go with it, you can't use the take, and then you got to figure out how to get around it and how to go here. And like I heard people laughing towards the end of the movie where Mike comes out of the bank and the cab pulls up and he almost gets in an accident, and then the bus pulls up. That was all. I mean, the cab was just supposed to pull up. He cut that black car off by accident, and what are you doing? That's ADR. We put that in later. But then the bus pulling up and Mike gestures to the bus, and it just sort of seals it in this way where it fits in the movie, and it feels like it's all supposed to happen. And that was the kind of thing that we actually looked for aggressively on this movie. It was both Noah and I were really drawn to the takes where unexpected things happen. And sometimes it was just somebody tripping over a line, or the scene with John Ventimiglia where he's a cab driver at that, and he's just awesome. And he gives Mike a real big hug, and it's like, and it's the only take where he did that, and it's so over the top that we almost didn't use it, and then we were like, you know what, this is great. And like the awkwardness combined with the enthusiasm was just so good that we decided to use it. But a lot of times you're just looking for the life, you know, like you watch actors go into survival mode and like just try, and every take is the same, and you just try and find the ones that have the most life and the most, texture to them, and use those.
Yeah, there's somebody down here.
One of the most remarkable things about the film for me is the juxtaposition of the seriousness of the story and the humor, but then also at the end, how quickly you almost transformed Michael. And Mollie, how you really moved that along in terms of getting a full picture of somewhat the healing that he went through. And I don't know whether it was lighting or how you edited it, but it was almost like you were brighter at the end. You looked entirely different as well.
I know it sounds superficial, but I think a lot of it has to do with that shirt I was wearing. I mean, it's just a very bright, crisp shirt. Every time I see it, I'm like, man, that shirt's really, it's something. It's very.
You should wear that more often.
It's like a healing